Okay, Danny, let me just get my camera here. There we are. There we are. Technology, what are you going to do? It's great to finally see you.
And great to see you, man. How are you doing?
Always. Well, I'm doing great. As you can see, I got a bit of a haircut. I gave myself a nice little trim here on the side of the beard, a real good John Wick, Keanu Reeves fusion style.
Fabulous.
But other than that, how you been, darling?
I've been good. You know, I've been very spiritual lately. Just kind of doing a natural prayer before I go to bed, which we can't always be perfect with, but when it's natural and it just comes to you before you fall asleep, it's nice. It's a really good feeling. So, I find myself doing the whole. I am healthy. I can run a mile. No.
Your declarations.
I'm really happy.
Well, you know what? That's very important, I think. Well, I'm going through the same thing myself. Ever since this year got started, a lot of things have happened for me fiscally, not physically, fiscally. That has me really in a rut of, goodness gracious, I've been used to second best. Now I'm starting to get quality. And this is part and parcel of one of them. So, making those declarations and changing the mindset, I think, is integral. It's my thought process, I think, for 2022, and I think it's going to be yours as well. And I mean, you and I have spoken about this on the phone a couple of times, where sometimes we get, for the good and the bad, hear me,
yes.
We feel like we get a little bit stuck in the rut because you're confused by the bad things that happen to us, and after that experience of bad has come and gone, and you start to experience a sense of levity and grace that starts to hit you. You think to yourself, but this is not supposed to happen to me.
Yes, exactly.
And then you have to rewire the circuitry and open other different neural pathways in the brain to accept it and take life lessons from it, not to make it all scientific. I see Sean Penawat is on the line. I'm just waiting for our guest Jules to arrive to notify our audience. Yes, Danny, I need to stop doing that. Chris,
I was speaking to somebody today, and they're kind of a stressor in my life a little bit. And
really,
I noticed my life got very stressful when they came into it, wholeheartedly. And I was trying to explain to that person that our problems are really of our own making, and it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice, because when I said that to that person, they said, well, I've always had a stressful life. And I'm thinking, well, I haven't, because I really practice at not having it. When I got sober, I got so many tools. And I have to say, I got a lot of tools from AA, and boy, they are good stuff. And
very, very.
So, you have to draw the line sometimes with people and say, no, this is of your own making. You have to realize that you don't have to live like this. You have to break this pattern.
Very much. In fact, if there's one bit of advice, not advice, a quote that I just heard before I hopped on, believe it or not, you are where you are today because of the decisions you have made yesterday has brought you to where you are for the good and the bad. And I think that ultimately condenses what you've just said. Somewhere you have to draw the line and say, me first.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there has to come a time where you have to say thank you, as equally as there is a time where you should say no thank you, and accept the fact that change is equally as it is imperative, it is necessary, but it also can be fun because you're finding a new dimension of yourself which you never thought possible. So it all depends on mindset, I believe. Now, I wonder, where is Jules? Let me see if Sean can answer that little question.
We are looking for Jules.
Sean, can you hear us, darling?
Yes. Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Well, thanking yourself, madam. Loud and clear.
Perfect. Yes. She says she hasn't received an invite. She's not very familiar with this app. So I told her, jump on the app on the phone and find the show, by searching your name, but you should be able to access via the profile.
And as we speak, here she is.
Wonderful.
Here she is. Let me see if I can get her inside. There we go. She'll pop up in a seckie. Jules, good afternoon.
Okay.
There we go. Jules, hi, welcome. We can hear you. We can hear you. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. We're doing good. We're doing good. For our audience, our guest this afternoon is a multi-hyphenate in today's world of communication, athletics, and literature. Some titles include a speaker, an author, even a third-place title holder in the North American Bodybuilding Champions held the previous year could be just some of the accolades under her belt. This dame has recently penned her memoir entitled Making of a Woman from the Inside Out, which sees quite the rotation on Amazon because, as we know, Amazon is the perfect platform for new authors to release their titles, and boy, oh boy, does it fly off the shelves. Equal to that, she has made myriad appearances on multitudes of podcasts discussing a caravansary of socioeconomic issues. We are proud to welcome her to Doing It Sober Live, discussing namely alcoholism and liberation from abuse and otherwise. Now, that is a very diluted overview, but the one term I heard you say on a podcast with DM Freedom, and it was also in that explanation in Amazon, you underwent, or rather experienced, what was called a family suicide. Just 20 seconds. What does that entail?
That was an attempted suicide when my father was unfortunately in the throes of his disease of alcoholism. And that seemed like the best decision for him at the time. I'm grateful that it was not successful on any level.
That gives me the chills. Wow.
It does. Me too. You know, I've contemplated suicide twice, but a family suicide, gee whiz. Now, Jules,
I couldn't imagine being in that headspace as a parent, and that being my last resort. That gives me chills to even think upon it at that level. So, yeah.
You've been through a lot.
Very much.
I think so. Yeah.
Tell us about it.
You know, first off, now I'm grateful to be like at this stage of the journey, because I'm no longer in the muck of it all, which means that I can look back and I can have gratitude, right? I'm no longer fighting that fight. And so, once I got sober, and I mean, that wasn't pretty. I always say, if you look good doing it, you are not doing it right.
Needless to say.
But, now it's like with all of those experiences, I truly can get a gist of what somebody else would be experiencing, right? And with that kind of experience, opposed to just reading it in a book, I know what it feels like to be in those dark spaces or those uncertain spaces. I have that firsthand experiences.
Tell me, or tell us rather, whereabouts did it come to be that you would have a dalliance with alcoholism?
I was born and raised in the upper Midwest of the States. And up there, it's very prevalent. Alcohol and now, unfortunately, a lot of drug abuse. It's very prevalent up there. So as a child growing up in the 70s, I mean, this is back when you could literally, I remember watching my uncles pop that beer can while we're driving. And they would drink, as long as you didn't get too drunk and cause any havoc, there wasn't a problem. But that was, I think, disguised the disease that ran rapid through many families, not just mine. But that's where it all began. And so for me to ever question if alcohol was an issue, I was oblivious. Even the day I got sober, I was still oblivious.
Yeah.
Because that's what we did. There's salt and pepper on the table. There's old Milwaukee on the table. There's, mashed potatoes. It's a staple.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's surprising
to
think how commerce it became throughout all the years. And sure, there are people who can do it in moderation, but for people like us, there is no skirting the line. It's just one